All right, so let's go ahead then and dive in. Today we are going to be talking about cloud-based disaster recovery, how to protect yourself from any threat. And my contact information is here for you. My name is Carla Federigo, and I'm the Director of Marketing at Infoscale. Please do reach out to me with any questions or comments or concerns that you may have. I'm happy to chat with you and would love to hear from you after the presentation as well. Here's a look at the agenda that we're going to be covering today. So first, we're going to be looking at key trends in cloud-based DR and BDR. We're going to be looking at the evolution of backup and disaster recovery as well, where it's come, where it's going. We'll talk about some best practices for protection, of course, protecting from any threat. That includes all types of downtime and ransomware. We're going to touch on a little bit of everything. We'll talk about our cloud-based DR solution, and then we're going to do a Q&A with our senior sales engineer, Aaron Jordan. So do be sure to get those technical questions ready as well. A couple of quick housekeeping announcements that I'm frequently asked. First, is there a recording of this video? So yes, we are recording. I'm going to post it at infoscale.com/webinars after this presentation within the next 24 hours. I am also frequently asked, can I have a copy of these slides? So I've gone ahead and put those in the handouts section. There's a PDF there that you can grab of this slide presentation. And also, we'd love for you to join the conversation. So like I mentioned, I already gave you my contact info, but you can follow us on Twitter at Infoscale. You can also find us on Facebook, on LinkedIn. We'd love to talk to you. And then finally, just any questions throughout the entire presentation, go ahead and use that question tool within the software. You can type them in at any time throughout the presentation. We are going to come to that Q&A at the end. All right. So let's go ahead and start by taking a look at traditional backup and disaster recovery. And this is really some of the trends that we've been seeing in BDR. Historically, disaster recovery invariably means trade-offs. So along the bottom here, we're looking at costs, right? From the least expensive to the most expensive. And along the side axis, we're looking at recovery time, from days to mere seconds. Now, first, of course, tape backup. On one end of the spectrum, utilizing tape, you know that it's very cheap, but it takes days to recover. And lots of other problems with tape backups as well, of course. But simply looking at cost and recovery time, next we look at cloud backup, maybe appliance-based backup. So along this spectrum, you invariably are going to have those trade-offs between cost and recovery time. So all the DR solutions along this continuum, in cold site, warm site, hot site DR, look, the recovery time here is mere seconds, but it's so expensive. Curious to hear from you guys on the line. What is your current BDR method, if any? Don't be scared to admit it if you're still using tape. That's okay. We will talk about alternative solutions, of course. That's why you're here on this webinar. But you can use the question tool and type in, let me know where you fit along this spectrum. Now, what you really want and where you need to be is right here in that top left. The lowest cost with the fastest recovery time. And right now, only the biggest companies can afford to fail over their systems in this way and have that low cost with fast recovery time. So that leaves 68% of companies using mere backup as a disaster recovery solution. So that's really what today's webinar is going to focus on, how to get you here in the top left where you have the fastest RTO available for the lowest cost. So let's first quickly understand what's causing these data protection threats and downtime. Now, this won't be familiar to you. If you look at the right-hand side, first here, the top causes of downtime. 55% from hardware failure, 22% human error. So this is not too shocking to us. We know that hardware failure and human error and then software failure account for the majority of all downtime. Natural disasters, just 5% there, but still, when we talk about disaster recovery, it's how to recover from any type of outage. Now, take a look at the left, the pervasiveness of downtime. 91% of those from this survey, you can see the source here in the bottom right, had experienced a data center outage in the past 24 months. Now, in the last year, though, in the last 12 months, 47% of companies experienced an outage. So we're going to talk in just a minute about what you have at risk with these types of downtime. But we also need to take into consideration the dangers of ransomware. This has become so prevalent lately. We've heard countless stories now of malware attacks through phishing emails, through email links and compromised websites, through even banner advertising. So when ransomware gets on your machine, it's going to start modifying all the files on your system with the oldest date modified, and then you'll eventually get one of these messages for a ransom demand. So all the files are then encrypted, and the hackers display a screen like this explaining how you can pay to unlock the files. And the danger here, ransoms started in maybe the $300 to $500 range. You can even see that in some of these examples here. The one in the very front that says your computer has been locked, that fine was $200. But fast forward to 2016, and companies are being hit with ransoms in the thousands of dollars. So let's just look at a couple more trends with ransomware. What we've seen is that in 2016, Q1, the first quarter this year, almost 3,000 new malware modifications were reported. And those victims were then unable to access their data for 2 days because it, of course, starts that long process of decrypting all your files after you get that decryptor software, after you've paid the ransom. So that's a long process, and that's why the response times until you're back up and running can take 2 days, but even up to 5 days in other cases. It can be quite costly and lengthy to get that data back. That's why 3/4 of ransomware victims were unable to access their data. And then we know they're getting away with it because of the amount of money paid in ransom. $209 million has been paid in ransom in the first 3 months of this year. Now compare that to $25 million in all of last year. So just a little more info to cover up on ransomware, because this is a huge threat that we've been seeing more and more. Now, there are so many different strains of ransomware out there. These are just a couple that we've seen lately, but there are many others out there. They're infecting the victim's data files. There's no known way to decrypt the files for free. And then you also have a network effect with ransomware. So not only can it infect the files and folders on a single user's machine, but it can make use of that network connection and then spread through the network and really bring an entire organization down. Now, one in particular that is really changing the game for ransomware is Locky. Locky's definitely been in the news, really changing the game because, first off, it has a worldwide reach. So we've seen that businesses throughout Europe, Japan, New Zealand, Australia, all hit with these massive phishing campaigns. Even closer to home, Amazon.com earlier this year was targeted by a massive phishing campaign. Estimated about 30 to 100 million spam messages were sent out claiming to be Amazon.com, and it was simply a shopping order update. Then also, aside from targeting businesses, there's that network effect, right? So the ransoms, while they used to be in the $300 to $500 range, are now in the thousands of dollars. And Locky can encrypt network shares and drives that your workstation may not normally have access to. So that network effect comes into play there. So how do I know if I'm infected? And these are some of those symptoms, right? Some of the clear ways to know if you have been infected with malware. So if you suddenly can't open your normal files, maybe you're seeing errors that the files are corrupted, maybe the wrong extension. If a window's opened to a ransomware program and you can't get that closed, if the program's warning you about a countdown timer until the ransom increases, or especially if you see files renamed how to decrypt files, decrypt instructions. So we've seen over and over these ransomware attacks happening. Now, what is that going to cost your business, though? Aside from the amount of the ransom, we need to also take a look at what that downtime costs a business. It's not just the price in dollars of that ransomware, but if you don't have a solution in place, what do you have at risk? So these are calculated averages for cost per hour of downtime per businesses. Small companies lost over $8,000 per hour, and large organizations over $600,000 per hour there. Now the average that was found right there in the middle, $215,000 per hour. So consider what happens when your systems go down, even for just that 1 hour. You lose all communication with your business partners, with customers, with employees. And how would you deal with a situation like this? And then, more importantly, do you know how much an unplanned outage would cost your business in terms of those lost opportunities? So with all of this in mind, knowing what the threats are, knowing what it costs a business to be down, and knowing what ransomware can do with that network effect especially, let's turn now and start to focus on a solution. So with Infrascale guarantees system failover from any disaster in 15 minutes or less. And that's a 15-minute guarantee, and we can do that at a fraction of the cost. And what we're delivering is on-demand, cloud-backed disaster recovery as a service, or DRaaS, for 80% less than traditional DR solutions. And that's really our entire mission. Our mission is to eradicate downtime and data loss. And now let's talk a little bit about how we do this. First off, we can protect all devices. So not just servers, but we do protect both physical and virtual servers, any desktops, laptops, workstations, all the way down to mobile devices, tablets, smartphones, we can protect it all. And then we do protect mixed environments. We support more than 100 versions of the most popular operating systems. So not just Windows, but Mac, Linux, Unix, Solaris, Novell NetWare. We protect over 100 different versions of operating systems there. And we also support flexibility in cloud choice. So we do have the Infrascale Cloud that you can use 16 global data centers worldwide. Or if you have the infrastructure and you would like to use your own private cloud, no problem. We also support third-party clouds like AWS, Amazon Web Services, or Windows Azure. And you can also opt to use the Infrascale appliance, so you have a local on-premise appliance if you'd like. You can go from the appliance to the cloud or direct to cloud, very flexible with what you need, all your choosing. And then how do you protect this? Well, here's a quick snapshot of my dashboard. This is where I can access, it's just simply one unified management console. I can access activity alerts, reporting, monitoring. I can monitor account usage per machine here, retention settings, remote deployments. It's all right here within the dashboard. So just a quick snapshot there. But let's take a look at how this actually works in action. So with Infraskill, you have a solution that offers you disaster recovery on demand. It's a push-button failover solution. And so here's how this works. Well, in this situation, here are some end users just working as normal, and unknown to them is they're about to experience either a ransomware attack, a natural disaster, a tornado, a flood, a hurricane, or simply human error or hardware failure, any type of outage. So with on-demand failover, you can simply log into that dashboard from any browser, and that's even if you're on a laptop, a tablet, or a smartphone. Just simply log in. With a couple of clicks through that dashboard, you can roll back to a previous date in the event of ransomware and instantly recover a clean version of the entire environment, not just files and folders, but the entire working environment so that everyone can keep working as normal. Now, this whole process, again, we guarantee happens in 15 minutes or less. So let's look at take a closer look at this. Well, here's a more detailed view, right? So on the left, you have cloud backup. And this is a traditional backup flow. So you have your production box and then the backup server next to it. It's then copying data over to some storage. It could be tape drive, it could be on-prem disk, copying to the cloud, just any offsite storage. And then when that disaster happens, be it ransomware, be it a hardware failure, you need to then copy that data back out of storage again, and then you'll start reconfiguring. You need to reboot. This can all take quite a bit of time. That's what we saw earlier, where the recovery time can take days, up to 2 to 5 days. So let's take a look at DRAS on the right. So a more detailed view of what we just saw in action, right? You still have the production box and then that backup server next to it. But rather than worrying about copying data back and forth, worrying about moving data several times, we're moving compute resources where the data is sitting. So we want to be able to just spin up a working environment where that data sits. So we can virtualize and create those machines on the fly and reconstruct your data center infrastructure right where your data is sitting. And this is really, really important because the primary issue used to be individual data loss. But now we really have that threat of not only data loss, but business interruption and downtime. So again, that's what Infraskill is aiming to solve here. Our mission is to eradicate downtime and data loss, right? So while yes, a backup and recovery solution is great to have, that's going to be disappearing in the next 5-10 years. It's going to be completely replaced by on-demand failover and DRAS solutions. So yeah, of course, we have a backup and recovery solution, but what you really want to be looking at now is a failover solution. So let's take a look at Cloud Failover in action. Now this is a live view here of our dashboard. Assume here it's 2 a.m. and you get a call that a data center is down. So logging into the dashboard, you can see tons of analytics and tools right at my fingertips. So this is where I'm managing all of my server backup fleet, all of my endpoints, all from one place, right? So because there's a data center down, I can just navigate to the office with the downed appliance here. So what you can see is in some of these appliances, they're standalone. Some are replicating to the cloud, right? So let's navigate to an office here that's gone down, and I can simply click into the cloud side through the Browse and Recover files. Now, you'll also notice through this process here, I don't have to mess around with VPNs. The dashboard gives me the power to manage remote environments and deploy desktop agents without any extra hardware. Now I'm navigating to the Cloud Boot tab, and then in that Cloud Boot tab here is where I can see all the servers in the office. I can find the server I want to bring up first, and then I'll be presented with the Cloud Boot wizard. First thing I need to do with the wizard is just pick the point from which I want to bring that server back. So just pick this date here. Great. Outlining my network configuration here, I can decide which traffic do I want to accept. Here we go. And then next, I'll set up a notification email when the VM's been spun up. So here I'll get alerted if, say, it takes 5 minutes. But as we're about to see, it can happen pretty darn fast. Good. All right, so now I flipped over to the Active tab, and then I can see here it's already ready. The selected VM's already been virtualized. And what I'll want to do next is verify that the server is actually running. So I'll just log into Windows Remote Desktop Client and connect to the particular server. And then as I log in, we'll see I have network connectivity. I, of course, want to ensure that I have both inbound and outbound connectivity. So the last step is going to check that I have that outbound connectivity. So the last step will be to ping Google. So that's what I'm going to do here next. Great, and all done. So let's review what we just did here. Logged into the dashboard, found the office that was impacted by a disaster, found that server that we wanted to bring up. We cloud booted the server. About a minute later, we logged in and tested connectivity, and that's it. So that whole process, like we just saw, just took a few seconds and a few clicks. Now, on top of that functionality that we just looked at, a quick note on simply security and encryption, because we do take security very seriously. We pay close attention to privacy. So rather than other solutions taking raw files and sending them to the cloud, Infoscale uses military-grade double-blind encryption to protect data. And this is really the best practice compared to other methods. Other solutions will simply take raw files and send them to the cloud. But what we're doing here is encryption locally, in transit, and at rest. And that's the only way to truly ensure that data is secure. And now when it comes to cost, just a note here that we're utilizing cloud spillover to keep that cost low. We are going to look at a specific cost comparison in just a moment here, but this question comes up frequently, so I want to make sure to cover it as soon as it does. So with our on-premise appliance, you can protect all of your data, again, mobile devices, desktops, laptops, physical, virtual servers. So why, if you take a look on the left, this is really the old way of doing it, where this is going to sound familiar to a lot of you. You buy an appliance, you end up filling that up as the data grows, buy another one, fill that up, buy another one, fill that up, and really continue this cycle. So that's the old way of doing things, where if you need more space, you have to buy more appliances. But the Infoscale way on the right, now you can either go direct to cloud, or you can go from the appliance to the cloud. And you can do that with simply one piece of hardware, the last hardware appliance you'd ever need, just a slim rack mount unit that you could send 1 terabyte or you could send 100 terabytes. And we do that because we're utilizing cloud spillover technology. We're intelligently spilling data over from the device to the cloud. And it's all based on policies that you can set regarding the age and the value of that data, right? So we talked earlier about how ransomware is affecting us these days. We looked at some of the trends in ransomware. We looked at the evolution. Now, I want to come back to that point and take a look at another page in the Infoscale dashboard. We know that when ransomware goes through your system, it's modifying all the files that it touches. So if it's a file that we're backing up, we're going to recognize it as a changed file. And in our dashboard, since we've now seen we have access to all of the machines that are being backed up and all the files and folders here, we get account level details. So we have analytics of which machines have the most changes. So what we did is we took these analytics and we created a brand new monitoring alert. We call this alert anomaly detection. And how it works is that if you have a large number of newly modified files, then a trigger, this anomaly alert trigger, is going to be sent to the admin if they're subscribed to those monitoring alerts, okay? So let's take a look at this in action so we can actually see how this works, right? So with the anomaly detection, here's another quick video of our dashboard. So this is how you set up that anomaly warning. So you simply go to the Settings tab, click on Monitoring, and then in the monitoring page you see Enable Anomaly Detection Setting. And here we let you set the threshold. So that warning is going to be released when your threshold is passed. So we're calculating a rolling average. It's the number of modified files for each device over time. And if the backup surpasses that predetermined threshold, then we'll release the warning. You can also open up details. You can see things like the backup duration. You can see the total files processed, how many files were modified if you just click in here. So this is the monitoring details. We'll close that out and then we'll click on Manage. You can also download the logs here if you want to investigate at a file level. So typically what we see is that users are maybe backing up, say, 10 modified files per day. Anything 3 to 4 times that is going to be cause for investigation. This is really critical here. No other BDR solution today has this type of proactive alerting system. So right now everyone's just, an infection, a ransomware infection comes in and then everyone's scrambling, quickly trying to pay a ransom, roll back to a previous date. But with this proactive alerting system, not only do you avoid that ransomware payment, so the dollars involved, or the Bitcoin I should say, but also you avoid that downtime. And we took a look at the cost per hour of downtime earlier, so you know how critical it is to be back up and running, to fail over and be back up and running without disturbing any business processes. All right, so now we're going to turn and we're going to talk a little bit about why partner with InfraScale and what our partner program offers. I do want to make a note here that we are 100% channel focused. We never compete with our partners. If you are an end user enterprise business, we definitely are able to work with you up to the point of the sale where we are channel focused, so we will then have you work directly with one of our partners. But we're able to get you set up and get you running before doing that. So we'll be able to partner you up with a local MSP or VAR in your area. So why partner with InfraScale? Let's talk more about this. Well, here's a map of our global coverage. We currently support over 50,000 customers worldwide through 900 channel partners. So through these partners, in turn, we're protecting over 1 million devices and counting. That's increasing every day that passes. And taking a look at this map, each red dot represents a business that we protect. And again, that's with our 16 globally dispersed data centers. We offer a world-class partner program, so 100% channel focus, not competing with our partners. We offer a partner onboarding program that guarantees partner success, and we have a simple and innovative pricing model that allows for good margins and flexible options with our partners. So of course, on that note, yeah, how much does this cost? So let's take a look at pricing and see what that means to you. Well, here is a apples-to-apples comparison that we did with a couple of other vendors out there, Barracuda, Unitrends, Datto. And here, of course, you can compare for yourself. We're happy to share this with you as well. But we found that the cost of a 10 terabyte appliance with 3 years of cloud storage saved 80% using InfraScale. And again, apples to apples compared to those other vendors. Now, how we do this is we're using intelligent software built-in deduplication, compression, and WAN acceleration technologies. We've eliminated the really costly hardware like we saw earlier with cloud spillover. So you not only have an unlimited amount of cloud space for long-term storage and archiving, but using that intelligent cloud spillover, you can set the policies as well. So the age of the data, the value of that data, you determine what is most critical to stay local and what spills over to the cloud. So again, pricing with Infrascale lets you save up to 80% in comparison to others. And it's a low monthly subscription. It's simply based on the number of terabytes that you have to protect. So you only pay for what you protect, right? Now here we can also see, so in addition to that cloud spillover, maintenance is included. We have 24/7 US-based support. You don't have to pay any excessive professional service contracts, no additional fees included, no hidden fees. You can use your own hardware if you'd like. We can deploy virtual appliances on your own hardware. Of course, you can also use ours. And we allow you unlimited testing at any time. So that way you can ensure that all the policies that you have set up are exactly the way that you like them and working as expected. Now here's another detailed comparison here, just a competitive comparison, helping to summarize those key criteria that you want to be looking at when comparing different solutions. And you can see all the solutions just don't stack up the way that Infrascale does. So what we looked at was, is it an affordable solution? Does it offer cloud spillover? Do I have complete coverage for those physical and virtual servers, for workstations, desktops, laptops, mobile devices? What about Pushbutton Failover? What about privacy and encryption? And then that recovery time, that was that very first slide we looked at the beginning of the presentation. So on top of these competitive comparisons, we realized that there are options for you to refer customers, whether it be customers of yours, consultants, business partners, any friends of yours. So we also offer a customer referral program. You can refer a friend and get a $500 Amazon gift card in exchange. So with all that in mind, we are wrapping up, getting close to the end here, and we are going to be diving into the Q&A in just a minute, but I have a quick poll, so I'd love to hear from you. So I'm going to launch this quick poll here, simply asking, would you like to hear Would you like to learn more about ransomware or BDR from Infrascale? A, yes, I want to learn more about Infrascale's failover DRAS. B, yes, educational ransomware or BDR info would be helpful. Or C, not yet, just here learning, maybe later. So I'll give everyone a moment to answer that poll there. Great. So far we have about 60% of you have voted. I'll leave this up for just another moment here, give everyone a chance to respond. So if you haven't voted yet, go ahead and reach forward, check one of those options there. Awesome. So I'll go ahead and close that poll down. And now with that, for your next steps here, we've now learned that cloud-based DR can protect you from any threat, and on-demand failover is your #1 defense. So I'd love to offer this free for 60 days for all of you to try it out for yourself and see for yourself. So give it a test. You can use the question tool to take advantage of this offer. Simply type in 60 days free if you'd like to take advantage of that. And then with that, we're going to dive into the Q&A. So I'm going to pass it over to our Senior Sales Engineer, Aaron Jordan, to dive into the questions here. So take it away, Aaron.
Thanks for that, Carla. So I see a couple questions already coming in here. I'm going to go ahead and just start reading those off. And if you have questions yourself, continue to ask those, and I'll get to as many as I can. So one of the first questions is, what is your support like? Do you offer 24/7 support? Yeah, so we have 24/7, 365 support. It's US-based. Half of us are in LA and half of us are in Salt Lake City. So we're going to be able to bridge those time frames well. So everyone's going to be able to get their issues answered. Even better is we have a 1-hour SLA. So you'll get a response, whether it's via phone or email or ticket or whatever you approach this by, within an hour. Another question is, where are your data centers and how many do you have? So we have 16 global points of presence. I think Carla might have mentioned that. But 12 of those are data centers, and we have them spread across the US, Canada, United Kingdom, Australia, South Africa, and South America. So pretty much everywhere in the world's got something, so we can take care of your data. Another one is, those, I guess it's a follow-up on the data center question from the same person. Are you SOX and HIPAA compliant? So yeah, we're actually Sarbanes-Oxley compliant. We support you in HIPAA. The idea is basically we have Sarbanes-Oxley, SAS 70, SSA 16, PCI compliant, safe harbor. It's kind of an older regulation, but we still support that for the UK, specifically the EU countries, along with HIPAA and other regulations like the ISO 27001, 2, and 3, to name a few. We also have CGIS data centers. So if you have like medical facilities, or excuse me, police facilities, or places with more secretive government data, we do have data centers that are keyed up for that, so they'll be your CGIS compliant data center. So I'm going to ask, are there minimum bandwidth requirements? So generally speaking, no. Not only do we have seeding to and from the cloud, but basically once you get your data going, we're only looking at change blocks after that point. So we generally try to make sure that, or we can basically guarantee that the jobs will still complete quickly without you having to saturate your bandwidth while still being able to get the jobs done. Let's see. Do you leverage data dedupe, and what sort of efficiency do you get? Yeah, so we have 2 to 10 times rate is the average. I think more recent studies show that we were sitting on 8 to 15 times dedupe. We do have dedupe, but it's not just job-based, it's actually global. That's how we're able to get our deduplication rate so high. But more than that, we have not just the local dedupe, but we've got something else called the DDFS assisted, which is essentially we share the dedupe, the global dedupe block map with the cloud, and the cloud is essentially able to inline dedupe all of your incoming data. So it's able to look at the new stuff and then prevent unnecessary redundant data from being sent over. So there's that. Do you support host level backup of hypervisors? Yeah, so we support VMware and Hyper-V host level. Everything also need an agent on those machines. So Windows, Linux, Mac, HPOX, Novell NetWare, AIX, FreeBSD, OpenServer, and both the x86 and Spark versions of Solaris. We can back up. We do file folder for all those. We can do bare metal for Linux and Windows. And we can actually virtualize your physical Windows boxes. So I can boot up your physical Windows and your VMware and Hyper-V on the local appliance and also in our cloud. So that was already asked there. Can you give a quick overview of your company? Yeah, so we've got about 200 employees worldwide. We've been around since the company Infrascale was founded in 2011. Infrascale has been around as SOS on backup since 2001. So we've been doing this since before the cloud was called the cloud, before it was coined. We've been pushing data offsite for as long as I can remember. Basically, we have an LA office, we have a Salt Lake City office, we have a United Kingdom office, we have an Australian office, we have 2 offices in India, one in Chennai, one in Bangalore. and those are and we have one in Kiev as well. Those are the main offices, and then we of course have a bunch of sub offices around the country. So one in New York, one in Connecticut, one in New Jersey, etc. So we are basically a pretty spread out global company. So we do a lot of international business. We've been around, again, since Infoscale, as we know, is 2011, but as a company, as SOS, since 2001. Let me see, any other questions that I haven't seen already? Yeah, it looks like I've gone over any other last-minute questions that I can entice you guys with, and I can answer for you. If not, you can always email team@infoscale.com and get a recording of this webinar, get the handouts, and make sure that you contact our team for any other burning questions. But if you've got me for another few minutes, if you want to ask those questions now.
Great, thank you, Aaron. All right, everyone. So a quick reminder that if you do want to take advantage of that 60-day free offer, you just need to use the question tool and type in 60 days free. We'll get you set up with that. I want to thank everyone for your time here and joining us today. Also, thank you, Aaron, for being here for that Q&A. We are happy to speak with you guys after the presentation. If anything else comes up that you didn't think of to ask now, please do reach out to us. Make sure to grab the handouts, the slides in that handout section, and then you can go ahead and reach out. So again, thank you very much. We very much look forward to working with you in the future, and have a great day.